Kingston is a city in Bartow County, Georgia, United States. The population was 637 at the 2010 census. The city was named for John Pendleton King, a United States Senator from Georgia. Geography: Kingston is located in west-central Bartow County at 34.23583 degrees north, 84.94472 degrees west, 34.23583 minus 84.94472. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 1.3 square miles, all of it land. Georgia State Route 293 passes through the center of town, leading southeast 11 miles to Cartersville and west 13 miles to Rome. U.S. Route 411 is a 4-lane highway that passes 1 mile south of Kingston, connecting the same two larger communities. History: Native American tribes once inhabited the area. People of the Mississippian culture were in the vicinity until about 1500 AD. Cherokee removal was accomplished locally by 1838. European settlers were moved in as early as 1832, after a land lottery. On April 12, 1862, James J. Andros with 18 Union soldiers in disguise, and 1 civilian, having seized the locomotive the General at Big Shanty intending to wreck the Western and Atlantic Railroad, were forced to sidetrack here and wait for the southbound freights to pass. After a long delay, the General continued north, pursuing from Big Shanty. William Allen Fuller led a crew which used a pushcar and other means and eventually caught the hijackers. 250 Confederate and 2 Union soldiers died of wounds, disease and sickness in the Confederate hospitals located here during 1862 to 1864. These men were wounded in the battles of Perryville, Chickamauga, Missionary Ridge, and in the Dalton-Kingston campaign. The patients were moved to Atlanta in May 1864 to avoid capture by the Union, who later used the hospitals. The dead are buried in unmarked graves nearby. Atlanta Campaign Union General William T. Sherman made his headquarters in the Hargis House May 16–19, for reorganization of forces in the campaign that would end at Atlanta. Assuming Johnston's army had moved from Adairsville, directly on Kingston and the river crossings south, May 18 led Sherman to concentrate his forces here, only to discover that Johnston had gone directly to Cassville where, without making a stand, he continued to Allatoona on May 20. Sherman countered on May 23 by moving due south. On May 18, 1864, Lieutenant General William J. Hardee's corps marched from Adairsville on the road parallel to the Western and Atlantic Railroad en route to Cass Station. He turned east on this road to join General Polk's and Hood's Confederate Corps at Cassville, which had moved on the direct Adairsville-Cassville road. Sherman erred when he assumed that all of Johnston's army had marched from Adairsville, as Hardee had, to Kingston. This resulted in his ordering his forces concentrated here, discovering later that the Confederates were 5.5 miles east at Cassville and not at the Etowah River south of Kingston. On May 19, Union Generals Daniel Butterfield and Joseph Hooker, the new 20th Corps, were headquartered at the house of Confederate Colonel Hawkins A. Price, a state senator who had voted for Georgia's secession in 1861. Hooker had been ordered from Adairsville to Kingston, on false reports that Johnston had retreated there. South of the Price house, Hooker discovered that Johnston had gone to Cassville. On May 19, 1864, the 4th Corps, followed by the 14th Corps, reached Kingston at 8 a.m. The 4th turned east to Cassville, A division of the 14th sent to Gillam's Bridge over the Etowah River found no retreating Confederates. Johnston's forces were at Cassville, 5.5 miles east. McPherson's 15th Corps and 16th Corps, moving south from Barnsley's, camped on Woolley's Plantation 2 miles west. The 4th Corps, 20th Corps and 23rd Corps were at Cassville. May 19, 1864, McPherson's army marched from Barnsley's and camped on the Woolley Plantation. This right wing of Sherman's advance, Kingston to Dallas, crossed the river, heading south on Woolley's Bridge over the Etowah River, May 23. On October 11, 1864, while encamped on the Woolley Plantation, the Ohio soldiers of the 23rd Corps voted in a state election. In 1864, a road southward from Woolley's Bridge crossed the road near this point and ran to Van Wert, Dallas. This was the route of Union Major General James B. McPherson's Army of the Tennessee, the right wing of forces under Sherman moving from Kingston to the Dallas front, May 23 and 24. At the time, the church stood at the northwestern angle of the crossroads. Another edifice was erected on the site of the present structure, 75 miles eastward. Sherman's forces encamped until May 23, when advance across the Etowah River began. End of the Civil War. The first Decoration Day, or Memorial Day, was observed in Kingston in late April 1865, and has been a continuous observance here since the day, the only such record held by any community in this nation. The first Decoration Day was observed while Union troops still occupied the town, flowers being placed on both Confederate and Union graves that day. On May 12, 1865, Confederate Brigadier General William T. Wofford surrendered 3,000 to 4,000 soldiers to Union Brigadier General Henry M. Judah. These were the last significant Confederate regulars to surrender east of the Mississippi. These were mostly Georgians, not paroled in Virginia, North Carolina, and elsewhere. During final negotiations, Gen. Wofford's headquarters were at the McCravey-Johnson residence on Church Street. General Judah's headquarters were at Springbank, the home of the Rev. Charles Wallace Howard, 2 miles north of Kingston. Rations were supplied to the Confederate soldiery by the Federal Commissary. Demographics. As of the census of 2000, there were 659 people, 248 households, and 191 families residing in the city. The population density was 817.3 people per square mile. There were 287 housing units at an average density of 355.9 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 68.59% white, 29.59% African American, 0.15% Pacific Islander, 0.76% from other races, and 0.91% from 2 or more races. Hispanic Latino of any race were 1.52% of the population. There were 248 households, out of which 32.7% had children under the age of 18 living with them. 49.2% were married couples living together. 22.6% had a female householder with no husband present, and 22.6% were non-families. 20.6% of all households were made up of individuals, and 11.7% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.66 and the average family size was 3.04. In the city, the population was spread out with 26.1% under the age of 18, 10.3% from 18 to 24, 26.3% from 25 to 44, 24.3% from 45 to 64, and 13.1% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 36 years. For every 100 females there were 97.3 males. For every 100 women age 18 and over, there were 87.3 men. The median income for a household in the city was $27,083, and the median income for a family was $36,667. Males had a median income of $28,333 versus $22,353 for females. The per capita income for the city was $18,319. About 10.4% of families and 15.4% of the population were below the poverty line, including 17.8% of those under age 18 and 18.6% of those age 65 or over. Landmarks. Kingston has a small museum and several historical landmarks related to the Civil War and to the Native American tribes which once lived there. Kingston Saltpeter Cave, located south of the city, is the largest cave in Bartow County and was used by the Confederacy to produce gunpowder during the Civil War. It is closed to public access. List of Kingston area historic markers. Confederate Memorial Day. Hardee's Corps at Kingston. Historic Price House. 2.5 miles northeast is the site of the Thomas V. B. Hargis House. Kingston Methodist Church. The original Methodist church, with another name at another location, was built in 1845. It was rebuilt in Kingston in 1854, and dedicated by Rev. Lovett Pierce. It was the only church remaining after Sherman's march through Kingston. It opened its doors to all denominations. It also served as Kingston's schoolhouse for many years. Old Macedonia Church, organized 1847. Spring Bank, Georgia, Kingston. The post-war surrender of Confederate troops took place here. The Federal Army at Kingston.